The question was, do I use any amp heads and cabinets? And over the years, I have, years ago, in like 1989 or something like that, there was a contest at Guitar Player magazine where send in 2 minutes of your best blues licks to Marshall amplification. And Buddy Guy judged the contest, and I ended up winning this half stack. It was a JTM 45 half stack in cabinet, which I traded for a basement because the basement came out. And then a buddy of mine took my trade in, and he used that cabinet for years, and then I bought the cabinet from him, and then I was going through a phase where I was using Plexi Marshalls. I had a 100-watt head, and I took the 2 outward tubes and took them out of there, so it was really a 50-watt. And that thing sounded awesome. But then I went back to using, I like basements because the back of it's open, so you get a little bit more spray. So I still have the cabinet, and then I got rid of all the Marshall heads, and then a few years ago I was doing, I had 2 records out on Steve Vai's label, Favored Nations, and while I was recording at his studio, I used this head of his that he used on whatever, one of the G3 tours or whatever. And it was one of those carbon heads, which I thought I'd never like in a million years. And I plugged into it, and I was like, oh, it sounded wicked. So I said, Steve, can I have that head? And he goes, well, if you want a new one, I'll. I go, no, I want that head. And so he gave it to me, which was pretty cool. So I've got that in my permanent off-site storage facility. So, but that's the only head I really have, other than everything else is combos. Yes, sir. I do play acoustic, yeah. I have a Martin, I've got a Guild, I've got a Dobro, and I do, Travis picking stuff. Of course, I got to do with all the Jimmy Page stuff, all the, the Zeppelin stuff. I do White Summer and Black Mountainside and Ronnie Hour and all that kind of stuff. What's that? No, I never got into Ralph Towner. He's excellent, but there's only a limited amount of time to get into all the different things. Any last minute questions? Yes, sir. Yes. Sure. The question was, we talked about Fender, we talked about Gibson, what about Paul Reed Smith? And he makes great guitar. It is kind of a cool hybrid of both, and I have one for a while. I have one with the bolt-on neck, so it's more like a Fender. They're cool. They're nice. It's just that, for me, let's just put it this way. It's easier to make a Fender sound like a Gibson than it is for a Gibson to sound like a Fender. You know what I'm saying? You can put some fuzz on, you can put some distortion, but you can't, in order to get those spankety-clankety funkification tones on the Fender, it's hard to get them on the other guitars. It can be done, but witchcraft is involved. All right, any questions? I'm going to play a little slide. For anyone into slide guitar? All right, I love me some slide. And,
for the first.
I play slide with my right hand. I don't use a pick. And if you're playing slide on a Strat, one of the things to do is I use this combination, the 2 position, I guess they say, which is the middle and back pickup together. And to get rid of some of the sizzle, you can just turn the tone down a little bit, and so it's not quite as political. And the deal is with that is I use the slide on my 3rd finger, and I use a glass like Coors Eden bottle. And I used my pinky for years. I started off with on my 3rd finger, but then I used my pinky so I could use these other fingers. But the problem is that when you use your pinky, your pinky's always wimpy. You know what I mean? It just doesn't have much strength. And no matter what you do, it seems like you're always kind of going slanting a little bit. It goes more horizontal on you. And when you use your 3rd finger, that sucker's just straight up and down. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot more control. I use my 2nd finger behind the slide in order to do some more dampening. And what you do is you want to be able to be right over that the fret instead of behind it. And one way to just help you get I use standard tuning. Most of the time I do use open E or open G as the need. prevails. But you know, when I'm doing stuff like this where I can't go into different tunings, I just use the standard tuning. So one thing you can do to get your intonation going is just finger a note, and go back and forth like a. Just make sure your intonation's right, because then once you get, it's kind of got to calibrate it so that when you're playing, that you'll actually hit them. And then just start doing licks like all that kind of stuff. And then just find zones where you. And so my right hand technique, so that I'm muting down. But down here, what I'm doing with my right hand is I'm muting every string that's not actually sounding, so I don't have all this extra noise. So with my right hand, I've got my third finger on the high E string, I've got my second finger on the B string, my third finger is on the G string, and my thumb is kind of relegated to the bottom three strings. So when I'm doing stuff, I'm going to... When I'm doing anything fast, I always resort back to my thumb and first finger when all the fast stuff. But I'm always doing muting so that those other strings aren't sounding. Alright, so I'm going to do this little tune for you, and then we'll talk some more. And then we're going to eat. We're going to feast like beasts up on... Let's see what we got.
Sério.